Hey guys, this is Bharadwaj with Phone Arena, and today we are going to take a look at the comparison between the iPad mini and the Google Nexus 7. The Nexus 7 we have here is Google's first Nexus tablet. It's a small tablet, meaning the size is at 7 inches in diagonal for the screen. So this was the first major competitor to the Kindle Fire, which was selling in tons because of its smaller screen and affordable price. So Google wanted to take that market, and hence Nexus 7 was introduced. So initially it retailed at 199 US dollars for the 8 GB version, and that's what we have right here. The Nexus 7 was made by Asus, as you can see here. So it's the first Nexus tablet from Google. On the other hand, the iPad mini was launched recently in India, and it also has the similar advantages like the Nexus 7. So this is also a smaller screen, and this is the first smaller iPad from Apple. This is a 7.9-inch screen comparing to the 7-inch screen. So what is interesting about Apple iPad mini is that Apple chose to peg it directly with the Google Nexus 7 in its launch keynote. So that makes it very interesting because Apple has indirectly acknowledged that there is a market for smaller tablets like the Google Nexus 7, and the Google Nexus 7's success has literally proven that. So that's no question. So that is the iPad mini is Apple's answer to the Google Nexus 7 and all the other 7-inch tablets out there. So let's see how they do in comparison. So let's talk about the design of these two devices. The iPad mini is a very svelte looking device. It is shockingly thin at just 7.2 millimeters and weighs just 312 grams for the 3G version and 308 or 306 grams for the Wi-Fi version. Whereas the Nexus 7 is not too thin like the iPad mini. So it is about 10.5 millimeters thick and weighs about 30 grams heavier than the iPad mini, which is like 340 grams. It is not much noticeable, but we certainly do feel bulky because it has smaller dimensions and the weight is concentrated into the smaller dimensions. So the weight is definitely noticeable on the Nexus 7, unlike the iPad mini where everything is evenly distributed. And about the size, you can easily see why Apple has gotten a bigger screen. Like the Nexus 7 has a 16 by 10 7-inch screen, whereas the Apple iPad mini has a larger 4 by 3 screen, which is 7.95 inches in diagonal. So as you can see here, the size comparison to be exact, it's almost as tall as the Google Nexus 7, but the iPad mini is wider. So what it means is, in terms of ergonomics, you can easily hold the Nexus 7 in one hand and sits nicely because of these nice curves on the sides. But the iPad mini is not too easy to hold in one hand, but it is very light, much lighter than the Nexus 7, so it feels very comfortable while using it in one hand, unlike the Nexus 7, which wants to kind of topple over when you hold it with one hand. So that's about the design. When it comes to the build, uh, the front of both these devices are purely glass, and there are no touchscreen or any. There are no hardware buttons on the front of the Nexus 7. There are only software buttons, which are configured to work how Google wanted it to be. But the Apple has the ubiquitous home button, so that's a trademark of all the Apple devices we have seen. So that's the home button right there, but nothing other on the front except the front facing cameras. And on the sides too, you can see that it's completely made of aluminum and feels very premium. This is an extremely good looking product, and it's very nice to hold too. The Nexus 7 is nicer to hold, but it is made of plastic, and sometimes the build quality is not up to the mark. So there are some creakings, and if you can see, the display is coming out of the Nexus 7. It's pretty old, but still there are some build quality issues. Even at the bottom you can see that the plastic and uh, the border around it don't seem well built. But on the back, it's pretty nice because it's soft touch plastic and it's very nice to hold. The grip is great, and it nicely sits in the hand. So that's about the build quality. Coming to the display, which is the most important aspect of any post PC device in our opinion, this iPad mini has a 7.95-inch 1024 by 768 IPS display. It's very nice. I mean, the color contrast, the color accuracy, and the brightness is very good. But the Nexus 7 has a 7-inch 16 by 10 1280 by 800 display and has a higher pixel density thanks to the smaller screen and higher resolution. So this has a 216 ppi pixel density, and this has a 163 ppi pixel density. So it is almost a given fact that Apple is going to upgrade the display on the iPad mini for the next version, but currently it's the same as the older iPads before the Retina display, that is. So the resolution's advantage is it can have cheaper components inside it, since there is not much to drive on that resolution. But on the other hand, the pixel density is so low that it's not too optimized for reading. So the Nexus 7 might produce better crisp text, and of course the visuals are better, but the brightness on the iPad mini's display is very good, and the color too is very good. So that's it for the display. We don't know what to prefer because reading on the Nexus 7 might seem crisper, but the form factor on the iPad mini is better for reading. So the jury is still out on that one, but both these displays perform very well and are very good displays. Let's talk about the internals then. Both these tablets are competing in the same range, so let's gauge their raw performance. The iPad mini has Apple A5 chip, which means that it has a dual core processor and dual core graphics, and it has 512 MB of RAM. And the Nexus 7 is TEGRA 3 equipped, which means that it's a quad core processor with a companion core, and it has 1 gigabyte of RAM. So basically, the Nexus 7 is better by raw performance, should be better performing. And since this is a TEGRA 3 chipset, it has specialized games and has specialized effects in certain games, which makes it more valuable for a performance geek. So, but otherwise, in terms of day-to-day usage and normal performance, there is not much going for either of these. The iPad is as fluid as ever, and the Nexus 7 is very fluid too, since Project Butter it has been blazing fast like any other Android device running Android Jellybean. So that's it for the internal hardware comparison. Not much to say. We can say that one thing better performs better than the other, but that wouldn't prove anything because day-to-day usage is almost the same. So let's get to the other aspects of the hardware. Both these tablets have a front-facing camera, which is a 1.2 megapixel camera. The Nexus 7 can handle only VGA video on the front-facing camera, while the FaceTime camera on the Apple iPad mini can handle 720p video. And not only that, the Nexus 7 lacks a back camera, but the iPad mini has a back-facing camera, which Apple calls it the ISIGHT camera, and it is a 5 megapixel unit. So it's almost the same as the one on the iPhone 4 and the iPad 3 and the iPad 4. So that's it for the cameras. When it comes to the speaker output, the Nexus 7 is not as good as the Apple iPad mini, and that's from our experience. There is a mono speaker on the Nexus 7 just below the Asus branding, and on the iPad mini it's at the bottom just like the iPhone 5. uh, there are two speaker grills as you can see here, and that's why it sounds great. And also if you're keeping it on a table, it might not sound as muffled as the Nexus 7. So the sound output clearly is better on the Apple iPad mini. So now we come to the software running on both these devices. The Apple iPad mini, as you all know, runs the latest iOS operating system, which is iOS 6. And being a Google Nexus device, the Nexus 7 too runs the latest Android operating system, which is Android 4.2 Jelly Bean. Android 4.2 Jelly Bean brings a lot of new features to Android, which is an improvement over Jelly Bean itself, which means that you can have lock screen widgets, and there is multi-user account support for the Nexus 7, which is kind of a good differentiating factor when it comes to Android devices on a tablet. And also there are lots more which we don't want to delve into, because this is not as important when it comes to comparing both these devices. Both these devices are very capable. And iOS 6 adds not many features. You can see the Apple's own Maps app, which is a disaster, and Google has released a Maps app for it already, so which is better than the Apple Maps. So not much going for the iOS platform in terms of apps, but coming to the app ecosystem, Android, as we know, has not many tablet optimized apps. Uh, Most of them are very bad, and they don't conform to the screen size very nicely. But Nexus 7 has a clear advantage because the screen is not too big. It's almost slightly bigger than the phablets of the Android world. So all these apps scale okay, not too bad, but even though apps are there, we won't say the quality is not up to the mark on Android. Either it be tablet apps or even just Android apps. iOS app ecosystem is just the best, and there is no complaints or no question about it. Every app that you install on the iPad, like almost 350 to 400,000 apps are now iPad optimized. And since this has a 1024 by 768 resolution, there's obviously a lot of apps for it. Here you can take a look at GarageBand, which has been optimized for iPad alone, and this is pretty cool. So that's what lacks in Android. We don't see apps like these on Android, and if it's a phone app, it looks like a phone app and doesn't look like a tablet app. So that's a pretty big deal for us. So let's conclude then, which tablet is better for you? So we consider a tablet as a luxury device. So the iPad with its app ecosystem and all the even the iTunes ecosystem that's going for it, it's definitely a better buy than the Nexus 7. Both these come in various memory variants, that is 16, 32 GB and 64 GB. The Nexus 7 comes only in 16 and 32 GB right now. Before it used to come in 8, 16 and 32, but the iPad comes in 16, 32 and 64. And both of these have 3G variants too. So the iPad mini can access LTE in the US but not here. So either way, both these are stocked with options, and you can get a whatever version you want. But again, when it comes to what you want actually, uh, the Nexus 7 is priced a lot lesser than the iPad mini. The base Nexus 7 16 GB costs just 199 bucks in the US, and the iPad mini, the base version 16 GB Wi-Fi, cost about 329 bucks in the US. But in India, both of these are priced literally the same. Uh, couple of thousands apart probably, but still, if you're going to spend that amount of money, the iPad mini is certainly the better choice. And we would also argue that the iPad mini makes the bigger iPad irrelevant. So considering that, the iPad mini is probably the best tablet buy when it comes to using it as a luxury device. The reading is better, the display could be better. The display on the Nexus 7 is marginally better than the iPad mini, but that doesn't stop the iPad mini from being a great device. You can do almost whatever the iPad can do, and it has a lot of tablet optimized apps which will make your experience worthy of that price, unlike the Nexus 7, which is pretty much a big Android phone without phone capabilities. So that's about it for the comparison, and it's strictly our opinion. So let us know what you think about both these devices in the comment section below, and hit like if you like this video, and subscribe to our channel. You can see that right now for more comparison videos like these, and we assure you that more are coming. Stay tuned.